Our next and final guest of the evening, Emerald AI founder and CEO, Varun Sivaram. Great to see you, Varun.
Thank you, Amy.
Well, Varun and I have chatted a lot in the last 6 months, and so we are going to clue you in on what we've been chatting about. But first, I want to kind of do a lay of the land, Davos through your eyes. I understand this is your third Davos. And a few years ago, during what I think was your first, you launched a new climate initiative while you were working for John Kerry, who was then the climate envoy for President Biden's State Department. I think all of those words, that's probably the first and last time you will hear those words uttered here at Davos this year. So how different is Davos now compared to your prior visits?
Davos is bigger than ever, and it was pretty big before. I will say my favorite Davos was the one they held almost in the summertime in May. It was not cold. But this Davos, I think, I see more high-profile folks just walking the halls of the Congress Center than I've ever seen. And Matt Damon, who, thank you. I embarrassed you, and we took a selfie backstage.
Secretly, I'm happy you did that, so it's all good.
I'm glad you forgive me, Amy. But it's been a fantastic Davos. The way I think about Davos, by the way, is try and practice the Swiss serendipity with discipline, which means you kind of hope for the surprise meetings, but you put yourself strategically in the locations for that to happen. For me, I perched right at the entrance of the WEF Partners Lounge today for an hour, and I met probably 10 CEOs that I wanted to partner with at Emerald. So that's Davos in a nutshell.
We're going to get to what Emerald AI is up to in a moment, but you are a CEO of a startup, and we're hearing that President Trump is summoning some CEOs to reception Wednesday at 5 p.m. Are you going to be invited?
I can neither confirm nor deny.
Well, I'll just have to ask you afterwards then. But you can give us a scoop afterwards. We'll do a sequel. So Emerald AI, let's get the audience caught up. You're at the heart of one of the hottest spaces here, the intersection of AI and energy, how to manage the energy that is coming from these data centers. So why did you decide, Varun, quick background, you've had a long career in the energy climate space. Why did you decide that this was the area you wanted to try to innovate?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm seeing some of our investors here. I didn't even know I'd see you. Hill from Atlanta. Look, I think 2026 is when energy and AI become the most important topic because they govern the way that the most important technology of humanity's future will evolve. In the United States, where I'm coming from, energy has become the key bottleneck for AI's growth. In America, we want to build 50 gigawatts of AI just in the next 3 years. We'll only be able to plug in 25 of it. That's true in Europe, UK, and India. It's true everywhere except China, where by 2030, 400 gigawatts is the spare capacity they're going to have for AI. Chips are their bottleneck. We have the chips, but we don't have the energy. In order to surmount this, however, there's this dilemma. Because if you rapidly build out the grid and build out natural gas power plants as fast as humanly possible, you end up raising rates for communities near where the data centers get sited. So you've either got innovation and competitiveness, lots of data centers, and you've got high prices, or you have no innovation and you have affordability. We founded Emerald AI to break that dilemma because I think you should be able to have both. Breakneck innovation in AI, lots of AI data centers, but at the same time, affordable rates for communities where data centers aren't a villain. They don't come into your community and raise your prices. They come into your community, create economic benefits, and lower your prices.
But that is definitely what is happening if you watch President Trump on Truth Social. So I want to turn to that for a moment. You may have seen the news last week. He took an extraordinary step of trying to tame power prices in the northeastern part of the United States by basically calling on the grid operator in that region to demand hyperscalers pay for this new electricity. What's your response to that, and how does Emerald AI fit into it?
Look, President Trump is absolutely right to draw a line in the sand on affordability. We can't have data centers raising costs for all ordinary citizens. In Columbus, Ohio, the cost of annual power bill for a household went up by $240 in 2025, directly attributable to data centers. Now, data centers aren't the only reason that prices are rising, but they're one of the most salient, easy-to-finger ones. However, I think that there are ways for us to get around this difficult dilemma. And President Trump is right to say we need some decisive action. What the president proposed was that, hey, let's make sure that hyperscalers and big tech pay their fair share for all the new generation that's going to have to come online. And that's a fair thing to do. But what we do at Emerald AI is we try and make AI data centers a friendly, flexible grid asset. We make them power flexible so that you're actually able to connect them to power grids without triggering brand new infrastructure. This issue is not going away. Affordability is not going away. It'll be the biggest issue in the United States in the midterm elections, but it's not just the US. We're here at Davos. It's a global convening. The United Kingdom faces these issues. Europe faces these issues. Every country in the world faces these issues. If we can get a technology to enable us to connect grid-friendly data centers, there's a chance that we aren't going to have to either put all of the costs on hyperscalers and big tech and emerging neoclouds, raising the cost of AI, or simply not build out the energy infrastructure and fail to connect the AI.
So are you telling me that you don't think President Trump's idea, you understand where he's coming from, but do you support this idea of forcing the grid operator to do this? Or are you telling a Republican president, hey, let's let the market and innovation do it?
Look, I'm not going to tell a Republican president anything. I agree that President Trump wants AI dominance and he wants energy dominance. We can accomplish both of them. Here's how I do it. I call it an all-of-the-above strategy. That's something that Republicans have always been able to get behind. We need lots of new generation, whether it's nuclear, for example. We're also going to need to prudently expand our power grid. We've needed to do that for a century, right? America, unfortunately, has had flat power demand for the last 2 decades, and this is kind of the first time we're seeing load growth or electricity demand growth that's driven by AI data centers, but also a bunch of other economic activity. What does all of the above means? We need more generation, expanding our grid, but we also need intelligent demand. If we put all those 3 together, then we'll actually have an affordable system and all the AI data centers we want. That last piece is critical, intelligent demand. I believe that the president and his Department of Energy has been clear that this is on the table. I believe that the president and the administration should support a pathway for AI data centers to get connected to power grids faster if they're willing to be flexible, if they're willing to flex their power output when the grid is tight. If they do that, think of the grid as a superhighway that only faces peak rush hour a couple times a month. If they do that, you'll be able to take advantage of all the excess stranded capacity on the power grid today that's there and available 99% of the time.
Is this something you've talked about with the administration?
We absolutely have. I went to the White House multiple times to present this. I think Energy Secretary Chris Wright actually wrote a letter launching a process with the Federal Energy Regulatory Commission, including this as one of the several principles for how we might be able to more quickly connect new data centers.
And this would be huge for your company.
It would be huge for we were founded on the premise in November 2024 that, hey, if data centers can be flexible, it's a really good thing for everybody. It's a good thing for your grandmother in Ohio whose rates won't go up. It's a good thing for a hyperscaler or for a emerging neocloud or for NVIDIA. You'll sell way more chips and you'll build far more data centers. It's good kind of for everybody if we allow flexibility to be a fast track attribute for data centers to connect to grids.
So if you've been at Axios House throughout today, you might have noticed my colleague Ina Fried asking questions of other AI experts we've had on stage about a possible bubble. Now, I think we're definitely in a bubble here in Davos, to say the least. But talking about an AI bubble, Varun, do you see an AI bubble coming, and how would that impact a company like yours?
There are 2 distinct questions here. One is, are there going to be bumps on the road? And sure, maybe there will be bumps on the road. Maybe we'll feel like, we slightly overbuilt AI infrastructure and we'll see a little bit of a lull. But in the long run, I think we're at the very beginning of a mega boom in the demand for compute. We're talking about a technology that can augment and maybe even replace human intelligence. In the long run, my bet is that we have built less than 1% of all the compute that we will need as humanity, and we will almost never stop needing more compute. So if you're making a long bet on we need more compute, sure, there may be bumps in the road in the months and couple of years ahead, but in the 5, 10, 15, 20, 25-year time horizon, I think demand for compute for AI skyrockets. And we want to be on the right end of that trade, right? Emerald says it's going to be important today, and in 5 years, and in 20 years, for AI data centers to get connected to power grids. And there isn't enough power right now to do so on the worst peak days. Therefore, the ability for a data center to be flexible means that it can use all of that excess capacity. And we should talk about this. Emerald has done now 4 commercial demonstrations and is headed toward its first scale deployment with NVIDIA.
And when is that going to happen?
Well, you would know because Amy Harder at Axios broke exclusively the story. So Emerald AI, backed by NVIDIA, our biggest investor, Emerald AI and NVIDIA have announced through Amy that will launch the world's first power flexible AI factory, which is a word for a specialized data center that just does AI, in 2026, this year, in Manassas, Virginia. It's along with Digital Realty, and we've partnered with EPRI and the PJM interconnection to prove that this is in fact power flexible. Now look, I'm excited about this, not just because it's the world's first and it's commercial scale, and we've gone just in 18 months from literally founding the company to patenting the technology to doing a commercial deployment. I'm excited because this is the reference blueprint for the next 1,000 data centers, the next 1,000 AI factories. Every single one of them should be flexible so that a utility can look at it. National Grid, they're one of our investors. They should be able to look at the next 1,000 data centers and say, hey, you've got that sticker? You're certified as a flexible data center. You're in NVIDIA's reference design. You use Emerald software. We'll connect you early.
But what happens with this? So one of the biggest concerns of the AI economy is the circularity of it. So NVIDIA is one of your biggest investors. You're also partnering with them on this data center. What happens if even a lull could be a big drop for a company like yours? How are you insulating yourself from that?
Look, it's a great question, but I do want to be clear. The value is not ethereal. It's not theoretical. There's real value here. And the value comes from you or I, Amy, using ChatGPT, or an enterprise fine-tuning a model, or a research lab developing the next methodology to do protein folding analysis. This is real economic value. At the end of the day, we make it possible to build more data centers more quickly with more, for example, NVIDIA accelerators. That's good for NVIDIA, but it's also good for communities because their rates aren't going up. It's good for the entire ecosystem, the cloud companies that sell the services, the data center developers who build the data centers. What we're trying to do is unleash pent-up latent demand. As I mentioned, there's latent demand for 50 gigawatts of AI data centers by 2028, and only 25 can get plugged in. So I don't think that this is invented or theoretical value. I think there's real hard value, and we're just trying to unlock it. We're kind of the enabler behind the scenes. Even if you don't hear about us, you will hear about NVIDIA selling more chips or Digital Realty building more data centers.
In our final moments, we are going to go to our concluding lightning round. Would you rather? Are you ready?
Ready.
Now, you can only answer one-word answers, so that's the name of the game. Would you rather IPO your company as soon as you can or keep it for the long haul?
Keep it for the long haul.
Would you rather partner more with governments or other corporations?
I'd love to partner with more corporations like NVIDIA, like Digital Realty, and others.
Would you rather optimize today's energy system or redesign it from scratch?
Don't have a choice. We've got to optimize based on what we've got and build on the foundation we have.
And final one, would you rather change the past or see the future?
Would always love to see the future. Amy, thanks for having me.
Thank you, Varun.